Hello and welcome to Nintendo Nostalgia. I'm your host, Jacob Rush, and I'm with my co-host, Ryan Back, and we are back and we are playing with power. Ryan, how's it going, man? Have you survived the weekend?
I did nothing but Switch this weekend. It was amazing.
Nothing but Switch, huh?
I barely even moved at all.
Oh, man. Did you go to the bathroom?
Yeah, I successfully did that a few times.
I bought some adult diapers, so I didn't have to have that problem. So I just took care of the business right then and there. No, just kidding. I did drink like a lot of coffee today, so it was very annoying when I had to get up to pee like 7 times. I didn't, and I know you can take it with you, but it's more effort to undo my Joy-Cons because I'm playing with the Joy-Cons, slide them back on the Switch, pull it out, go to the bathroom, and then come back and undo it all. But so I essentially. I was like, I'll just run in there, do it real fast, skip the hand soap, just put hand sanitizer on, rub it on, go back and play. So that's how I've been handling that. But Ryan, today we also have a very special guest, and this is the man from the podcast Play Some Video Games, PSVG. Kevin, how are you doing, brother?
I am doing unbelievable. Very happy to be here. Although I will preface this. So when you reach out to me and said, hey, can you hop on the podcast? This has been in the works for like a month or so at this point. Mm-hmm. Absolutely no problem. I'll hop on. You know, I left the PSVG headquarters, hopped on a plane, flew all the way out to Indiana. And then you tell me, dude, it's a virtual podcast. You didn't have to come to the studio. So I'm a little bummed. So I'm sitting in a hotel room now in Greencastle. You know, kind of flew out for nothing. Thought I'd get the red carpet treatment, but I'm a little left high and dry. But other than that, I'm doing well.
Well, we spent all of our money on our Switches, so we didn't have any money to pay for you. So it's best that you just stay there in your hotel. But no, I'm glad. That's really cool that you're actually in Indiana, very close to us.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool. Guys, so, I mean, this episode is not a regular format. We're not talking about old games. We're not talking about old systems. There's only a little bit of tidbits of news that we have to talk about, but mainly we're here to talk about the Switch and how it's going and what we think about it. I know Ryan and I did a little mini episode of our first initial reactions right away, but this episode is a bit different than that because this episode now we literally spent maybe 3-4 full days just gaming. I mean, I took a 4-day weekend just so I could focus on the Switch and didn't have to worry about college homework and have to worry about my going to my job. And I've done a little bit of everything. I've done gaming by myself. I've done gaming with just my wife. I've done gaming with like 6 or 7 people at once, you know. So I've kind of ran everything on the Switch so far. That's me, but you guys had some news you actually wanted to bring to the table. So, Kevin, you're a guest. Why don't you go ahead and talk about how's things going for Nintendo since the launch?
Yeah, so Nintendo kind of broke some news today. According to New York Times, it said Reggie himself had noted that the Switch's success so far is the fastest-selling console for them in a short period of time. They didn't give exact numbers, but if you look at the Wii, which was the leading seller, it sold over 600,000 units in the first 8 days. So if it's already outpacing that, we could see big things for the Switch. We all know the Wii went on to sell over 100 million units.
Wow.
That's going to be the case here, but it's a good recovery for Nintendo for sure, since the Wii U launch wasn't as good for them. The other note, they also did mention that Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild was the best-selling launch title that wasn't bundled like Wii Sports, because we all know it doesn't really count, of any Nintendo console. So it's pretty impressive when you look at N64 launch with like Super Mario 64. Mm-hmm. And the fact that Breath of the Wild, although I don't think many people are doing it, it is technically available on the Wii U. Mm-hmm. So for the Switch version to still be the top selling one, they're not counting the Wii U numbers. It's pretty impressive kickstart for Nintendo there. So hopefully the beginning of a good trend for them for once, so they can get back on track.
I kind of find it funny. I honestly forget that there's even a Wii U version of Zelda. it's the same as it's the same effect that Twilight Princess had. Like I didn't realize there was a GameCube edition, and honestly, years later after the launch, because I knew the Wii was coming and I knew this was coming out for the Wii, so that was my mindset. So I always refer to that as a Wii game, and I'm always going to refer to Breath of the Wild as a Switch game from now on. So that's funny that there's even the Wii U version of it. But no, that's so exciting. Gosh, like it is such a good time to be a Nintendo fan. Ryan can attest to this, but like when we started this show, we were listening to a lot of Nintendo podcasts, and I really felt like, gosh, I love Nintendo so much, and I want to have a voice to be able to just help share that love to people and help them see Nintendo in a bright light, especially when Nintendo's down and out. And this time last year, I wasn't podcasting; I was just listening, and it's amazing to see where Nintendo was a year ago right now compared to where they are just 1 year later. Like, they're like, I mean, I don't know if they're on the top of the video game hill at the moment, but they're definitely climbing up and they're making a lot of buzz about it. So it's amazing what 1 year will do. Ryan, did you have a couple bit of news that you wanted to bring?
Yeah, I've got kind of a negative news article, so I wanted to bring in some positive here. I read this really cool article. This lady's like just praising the Switch and 1-2 Switch because her husband is blind, and the amount of games, I think it was like 22 games out of the games that were in 1-2 Switch, he could play with her.
Oh wow!
Because it was mostly sound based, and so like he could do like the quick draw, he could do the safe and everything. Like as long as he had some direction on like what motions and stuff, like he could play, and he actually beat his wife almost every single time. So,
wow!
It was just really, really uplifting to hear that. It's cool to hear these innovative things that Nintendo does, and it works in areas that you would never see it work anywhere else. It's uplifting for sure.
That's really neat. I didn't even think about that. That maybe that's a good sign that maybe Nintendo can make games like that, and the whole industry in general can make games where people who can't game normally because of an issue can find a way for them to game. And I think that really contributes to Nintendo's quality of life program that I want to try to start. Just making life better for people, and games are a fun way for everyone to have a better life. And I love that. I did not hear that story, and that's really good. So, but what's your bad news, man? What are you going to smear this good talk with?
Well, I was kind of hunting around, just like listening to people's feedback on what's going on with the Switch. Minor things with like, okay, so maybe major things for some people where the left Joy-Con can desync and things like that. The thing that stuck out to me the most, and something that Nintendo has kind of stuck behind all these years, but it has personally affected me, and the fact that they're carrying this over into the Switch generation bothers me. It's dead pixels. Nintendo says if there's a dead pixel or two, just keep playing the system. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not something worth repairing or replacing. And that's kind of a big letdown because I had a 3DS that had a few dead pixels, and it just completely took me out of the experience. Like I just could not enjoy it because there was that hole in the screen, essentially, that glowing red or what have you. And to hear that some people just like right out of the opening the box, they have dead pixels, and Nintendo's like, oh, well, it's fine. You don't need to worry about it. That's a little disheartening. Like I think Nintendo needs to change that up because it's been a policy for as long as I can remember, and it's something that needs to change. And it's just, they're great about their customer service, but that's just something that's a bit outdated and a bit unfair.
It's a little true. So a little industry insider there. So most companies, whether it be with televisions or with they have a policy with dead pixels where it's not covered under like a manufacturer warranty, or it's not considered a defect until you have 3 connecting dead pixels. So if you have one in the top corner, one in the bottom corner, they're like, whatever, it's fine. But if you get 3 in the same spot, that's when they consider it a defect. And most of the time, not every, but most of the time, that's when the companies will kind of pitch in and take care of it, whether it be a TV, a 3DS, or even a GPS unit like the Garmin's and stuff like that. Cell phone, same thing. The dead pixels have to be 3 connecting for most manufacturer warranties. So okay. I agree, it's totally outdated, but that seems to be the industry standard, at least for now.
Wow, that's a shame to hear. I mean, it sucks that some people are going to open their Switches up and they may have that. And, but hopefully, like what Kevin said, I mean, I don't know if it's just one here or there, it sucks, but I mean, you're probably not going to notice it in general. Now, does that that doesn't affect your TV? That's only if it would be in handheld mode. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
In the Switch's case, yes.
Okay. Well, I mean, I know for me, I only plan on taking the Switch out from time to time. It's not something. Well, I got a great example. Sunday we try to go out to lunch after church, and I try to take my Switch, and I have to say, I recommend do not take a big game like Zelda out on the road to play, because we got to the restaurant and my wife dropped me off, and I had to get the baby out. And I had to go put her name in, and it was loud and it was cold outside, so I couldn't go sit outside. And all this happened right when I got to a cutscene on Zelda, and my wife pulled up, and like, you can't pause the game, you can't stop, you can't do anything, and I'm not going to carry my child and my Switch out of its case for who knows that I could drop this brand new Switch on the floor. So I kind of decided then and there, I was like, unless I'm in a very long car ride, playing a game that is as big or as in-depth as Zelda, don't do that on the road. Take something like Bomberman or Smash Bros. Or something that's easier in smaller increments to play. But for the most part, I'm going to be playing my system on my home screen. I'll take it out from time to time, but I really like to play it on the television. That's how I've played it mostly. But that's for me. So anything else on that, guys? We good?
No, we're good.
Awesome. Okay, great, guys. Well, we want to get right back into the meat of the topic of the show. And then, guys, that's all about Nintendo Switch. We're going to be talking about the system. We're going to be talking about our experience with it. We're going to be talking about the games. Because maybe not all of our listeners has a Switch. You know, maybe you all do. Maybe most of you do. Maybe most of you don't. I don't know. But we want to bring you just information about our experience with it. Because, guys, I tell you what, I'm having a lot of fun. And you know what? There's a difference with having a fun with the Wii U and having fun with the Switch. I had a lot of fun with the Wii U. But when I know everyone else is having fun with the same console I'm having fun with, there's just something extra special about that. You know, I don't have to play this game and be like, that's amazing. But then I go online and 90% of the people hate it, but I'm one of the few that like it, you know? So, I am just super stoked, but I talk a lot. So Kevin, why don't you go ahead and just talk about the Switch and your experiences with it? And because you have flown out here. So I believe you played a lot of handheld mode in a traveling situation. So go ahead and talk to everyone about that.
Yeah, I totally did. So I flew. I live in Rhode Island normally, so I flew had a connecting in Detroit, and then flew to Indianapolis the other day. So I had a good 5 or 6 hours worth of traveling time between layovers and actually being on the plane. So reading a lot of the stories, we kind of all seen people kind of knock on the battery life for the Switch, saying, well, if you're playing Zelda, you'll be lucky if you get over 3 hours. I can debunk that for you. At least my experience is if you put it in airplane mode, so it's not looking for a Wi-Fi signal, and if you adjust the brightness, I didn't turn it like all the way dark, but I put it probably where I would have customized it myself anyway. My first flight was 2.5 hours, landed, turned it back on. I had about 65% battery still. So
wow.
Clearly the 3 hours thing, if you make a couple adjustments, it's not a big deal. And if you think about it, when you're traveling, you don't need the Wi-Fi on anyway. What are you doing? So you're not playing online on the plane anyway. So It's all good there. So yeah, traveling was great. It's funny because the Switch, obviously, it's in the media and everything right now. So a lot of people are looking over, like, "Hey, what do you have? What is that thing?" You know. So I did a lot of time kind of demoing for people, and whether it be gamers or people who that are like the dude bro, the Xbox gamers. I just play Call of Duty and Madden. What is this thing? And you show them, you're like, "Well, here's Zelda. Check this thing out." And they're like, wow, this is crazy. You're getting this kind of quality on the go.
Yeah.
Everybody remembers like, oh, well, the Wii U is the same concept. You have the tablet. Yeah, but you can take this tablet anywhere now. Right. The Wii U, you couldn't walk 15 feet away and then it loses signal and you can't use it. But this thing, you can go wherever. Then you show the Joy-Cons like, oh, well, these slide off and they connect into this thing. And then you have a controller and they're like, mind blown. So it's kind of cool right now getting the hype from that. Didn't feel too concerned. I did buy a good portable case for it, so That traveling was good. I just made sure it was locked in when I was, getting off the plane or anything like that. But I played it on the plane. I did keep it primarily just in the Switch tablet mode. I didn't do like the kickstand and the Joy-Con thing type deal. But like I said, if you make some minor adjustments, you can definitely get more battery life out of it than what they've been pitching. The other thing that I don't know if you guys experienced, and I know Ryan, you mentioned it, was the left Joy-Con sync issue.
Yes.
I didn't get it at all. I've had no problems. A lot of the staff from PSVG, I think one guy said it happened once, but it was prior to that update, the patch. So Nintendo hasn't come out and said whether this patch actually fixes it or what. And then some people still claim they're experiencing it. Seth was the staffer that had mentioned it, said he thinks it was more due to the placement of the docking station, that it wasn't visible to the left Joy-Con. But yeah, I had no issues out of the box with that. So I'm not sure how widespread that actually is versus kind of the push it was getting in media with before the day one patch kind of deal. I think a lot of the reviewers that got the Switch like a week early probably should have held off on some impressions until that patch launched, knowing that was coming out, because that could have also had something to do with the battery life. There could have been something to make some adjustments in the back end that would make the battery life perform better. So a little bit of a disservice there, but clearly based on the sales, it's not anything that took the wind out of the sails for Nintendo for sure. No. So
I know my friend Jeff is having a lot of trouble with it. He's died a few times because of the issue. And he plays mainly just on his TV with the Joy-Cons detached. He's got them in the grip. So he has had that issue. He says not so much the right, but it's that left one that's having the issue. And I wonder if it's like certain production runs or something like that, because it's not consistent in some ways. So I'm wondering, but when it happens, it's really noticeable and it's really kind of devastating when you're playing Zelda or something.
Oh, sure.
So
I can see that.
So I'm hoping that this gets cleared up and it's not something like major, but Nintendo's looking into it, and I'm sure they'll have a good replacement program or something along those lines. So.
Yeah, I mean, you got to look at what they did when the Wii first launched and everyone's throwing the Wiimotes through the TVs. And they shipped out that big rubber thing you could put on the Wiimote that they gave to you for free if you emailed them or whatever. I mean, you look at something like that, like it was a dumb fix, and that was something that wasn't even really Nintendo's fault that you decided to throw your controller. But they spent a lot of money just putting those out there and giving them to people for free. So I think if this turns out to be something that actually is their fault, you'll definitely see them taking care of people, I think. So
yeah.
Now, and this is kind of side note here, if they could fix the My Nintendo stuff and give us good rewards for once, that's what I really want to see. I was a member of Club Nintendo back in the day, if you remember that.
That was so awesome.
Those rewards were 1,000 times better than the garbage they're giving us right now. So.
Yeah.
I noticed too, and I don't know what the deal is with this. So I made obviously some digital purchases on the Switch, and we'll get to that later. I got no My Nintendo points for them. So digital, yeah. Where if you bought digital on the Wii U and the 3DS, you get the gold coins for it.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what's up with that, or if they're going to do something later. But I did buy, some titles digital and no rewards there, so it's a little weird.
Interesting.
You should when the system starts up and you have the different tiles of games, you should be able to select it, and then there's a way to register it down below, at least for physical games.
Oh, okay.
I wonder if it's available for digital as well. I know that digital will give you more coins. They kind of push that digital thing.
Yeah, right.
So I'm not sure. I know it's like 12 coins, I think, for Zelda if you have the physical copy. So
it's just weird. You have to register it, not just auto generate, because My Nintendo's linked to it. You'd think it would just. We'll see. They need to fix that program too.
Yeah, they do, and I think with that they might. They rolled it out last year, but I really think it was kind of just waiting for Switch to go before they really crank it up. So,
fingers crossed.
My hope.
I want that physical reward.
Yeah,
those physical rewards were awesome.
Oh, absolutely.
Hopefully come back.
Jeez, man, that'd be. Bring it back. Make Club Nintendo great again. I
want a gold nunchuck, or something similar.
Oh, that'd be super sweet. So Ryan, how about yourself, man? Have you been experiencing issues since the last time we spoke? How is the Switch feeling for you?
I've had to charge it a few times, but other than that, no issues whatsoever. I'm really enjoying this system. And like I said, I've not done too much on the TV. I've had maybe 5 minutes on TV, and the rest was all just handheld. I did a little bit of the tabletop with playing Bomberman with my brother-in-law. So, but other than that, it's been all handheld Zelda and just loving every minute of it.
Very neat. Yeah, for me, like I said earlier, I've really had bit of everything with this. I took it to church with me because I was on our worship team at our church this past Sunday, and there's usually there's 2 services, so we'll play, and then there's an hour or a half hour before the next service starts. So I took it with me because I knew there was going to be people there who didn't have one, but knew I know all about Nintendo, and they knew I was going to be getting it. So I took it there and I showed it off to 3 or 4 people, and just like what you were saying, Kevin, their minds were just blown. I was like, first off, they couldn't believe that Zelda was on there. And then I sat it down behind in our sound booth, behind all the service area, and on a little table back there, and just I was demonstrating it. So I turned on snipper clips, and I took the Joy-Cons off, and you should just see their eyes. They're just every little thing I do, they can't believe there's something else you could do, and one guy even just started laughing, and he's like, this is why I love Nintendo. And he doesn't even game, but he's like, they're just so fun. They are just so fun. They make things so unique and so different. It's not just a gory shoot 'em up rated M game. It's they make things fun and different. And that's what I love about this company. So it was just really cool to hear feedback. And then after I was done doing that, my family was coming to the second service, so I actually didn't sit in and listen to first service because we played worship all at the start of the service, and then the rest was just our pastor speaking. Well, I decided I'm going to go in a back room, and I was just going to play Zelda until second service when my family got there. So while I'm doing that, I see some more people come in, and they pull a chair up, and they're just sitting behind me, and they're watching me just play Zelda and get destroyed a bunch of times, but it was just really cool to witness that and experience that, seeing other people's reactions. People who don't normally even game any system that much. Maybe they're casual gamers, A lot of them were just interested in it. And then Saturday, I got to have a friend. I got to have one of my best friends over, Traven. He was supposed to come over and demo the Switch because he wasn't going to get one. But then his birthday's in April, and his mom actually just she couldn't pre-order one on time. She didn't get it in on time, but she called around the day of, and she got him a Switch. She found one at a Target, and then she got him the Switch, and he came home from work and had no clue that he was going to be getting this Switch. So he was completely blown away, and I was ecstatic because he showed up. He tricked me. He made me think that he never even touched it, played one, or anything like that. So he shows up Saturday morning, and he's got his Switch out, and we're ready to go, which was really cool because I got to experience how easy it is to just take someone else's controllers and sync them to my system. I can tell you how frustrating that was with the Wii or the Wii U I hated it. I hated it, right? And I just tried to play Wii U 2 weeks ago. And if you turn, I'll be playing with the gamepad, and if you turn on a Pro controller, it automatically, for some reason, makes that. It does no longer work. It makes the other one the first person or whatever. And I'm like, what is this? So it is super easy to figure all that out and to just sync other controllers up. No issues there. But then I found my wife's my sister and brother-in-law is going to be coming up for the day too, to spend time with their niece, our daughter. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I mean, my buddy's going to be here all day. So, and then my sister called and was like, hey, you want to go out to breakfast? I was like, well, I'm making breakfast here. You want to come over here? So she ended up coming over. So we ended up having 7 people over, and we were all playing. We all played snipper clips on 4-player mode and traded one of the controllers around. And that was so hard and so frustrating, but so fun at the same time. I know we're going to talk about the games here in a little bit, but man, that was really cool. So I just got to experience what it was like to sync up with another Switch to my own system. And gosh, it's kind of mind blowing how easy it is. I pulled my Switch out of the dock. My buddy put his Switch in my dock. His was on the TV. It wasn't have to sync. I'm used to like just have to jump through some crazy hoop just for something like that to work, and it was just easy, 1-2 easy, man. So that's kind of just where I've been at. I could say something about the left Joy-Con. I don't think I've really experienced a bad issue with it, because I wouldn't say like I've seen Link go crazy or anything like that and run up a hill or something. The only issue I experience from time to time, though, is when I was playing Zelda and I would try to pull up my map, I'll find it where I'm like having to push the button, and I'll push it like 3 or 4 times before something even happens. The minus button to pull the map up. It doesn't happen all the time, but it happened maybe 2 or 3 different times today where I had that happen. Maybe it's just because I literally gamed from morning till night. Could be the situation. But even so, gaming morning till 9 and it only happened like 2 or 3 times. That's not that big of an issue to worry. And even when it did happen, I kind of paid attention to where my hand was, and I noticed like maybe my hand was a little bit up on the top part, overlapping the Joy-Con. Like, so like I thought maybe my hand messed up a position, like a signal or something. So I don't really know. I haven't really experienced that big of issues with it, but that would be the only thing I did, if anything. Mm-hmm. But I want to go ahead and talk about the games, not Zelda. I want to talk about, like, Kevin, you have 1-2 Switch. Did you play this thing?
I did. Sunday night before I flew out. We had a bunch of people over, and they kind of demoing the Switch because a buddy of mine wanted to get one. He couldn't pre-order. Told him I got it, so he wanted to see it. So we came over, and I showed him Zelda, which I had only played for about 5 minutes before. So I was like, my kids played this the launch night. Why don't you try this out? And they had a blast. They played it for like 3 or 4 hours, and I just sat back, watched. So at that point, it's a fun party game. 1-2 Switch, it's great if you have a group of people.
Yeah.
I don't think necessarily has legs to really go on for super long. I think in maybe a month or 2, I'm really going to be sick of it. Okay. But my kids absolutely love it. So my 2 oldest are 13 and 10, so they're probably right in the perfect wheelhouse for it. But I will say it is a phenomenon to demonstrate all the different things that the Switch is capable of.
Yeah.
Between the game where you have the box full of balls and you got to see how many marbles when you're wheeling around it, really the HD Rumble. I laughed at the HD Rumble so many times, and Nintendo was like, no, it's really cool. And I'm like, all right, whatever. But to then experience that, you're like, how do they even do that? So
yeah,
I still haven't done it.
Oh, dude, that's one of the few ones that are like super, super enjoyable. A lot of the ones seem like they could have been stuff that would have been pulled off on the Wii back in the day. But there are a couple that really stand out for something that are technical marvels over what they've done in the past. The safe picking game is pretty cool. Telephone, stuff like that, where you just has different things that utilize the speakers and stuff like that, and motion controls in a different way that we hadn't seen prior. You know, you had mentioned before Nintendo makes things fun. This is the perfect example of it. It's not a hardcore game. It's not something you'll play for 5 or 6 hours straight, but it's something you will have fun with when playing, and it's a great way to demonstrate to people who aren't regular gamers, like, hey, this is what the Switch is and this is what it can do. And everybody can play it. So a lot of them are super goofy. But that being said, I initially wasn't going to buy this title. But when I sat back and thought about what games that were out, I was trying to find something my kids could play, and that was really the only thing I think they would have played a lot. They'd probably play Bomberman, maybe if they got the hang of it, but that wasn't something that interested them. So I did bite the bullet and pick this up, and they've had fun with it. So it was definitely worth it as far as I'm concerned if you have family members that want to play as well, because Zelda is very much a single-player experience. You're not going to experience that with everybody else. So it was something that everybody can get around the house and play together. So overall, I mean, if I were to score it on a scale of 1 to 10, probably like a 70, 75. It's fine for what it is, but I don't think it has legs really long term. But it's a lot of fun for sure.
I haven't actually gotten to play 1-2 Switch yet. I own it, but I can't get my my housemates to tear themselves away from Zelda long enough to play it with me. So it is sitting on the back burner. But next weekend, I'm going to be spending some time with my family. I'm going to break it out then and introduce it to them and see how that goes. So
it'll be fun.
I'm ready for it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Sure of it.
Kevin, I can actually attest to that 1-2 Switch. I didn't buy it. My buddy, he really wanted it when he came over with his Switch, and he had Zelda and he had Bomberman, and that was it. And my wife and she's like, I bought so much stuff I did not plan on buying when the Switch.
I saw your haul.
Yes. Well, it was super a blessing because my job literally that week announced we've had like a really busy year, record-breaking year all year round for product that we've put out, and so we've worked we have literally been working 10-hour days since almost this time last year. So 50-hour weeks all year round. And it's a physical labor job. So long story short, they came out and they said on Thursday that everyone was getting a $1,500 bonus on our next paycheck. And we got paid that next day. So my wife was awesome. Like, have at it. And I was like, this happened at the perfect time. So, and she's even still let me buy some games. So like, I was thinking about buying 1-2 Switch. I was like, because I thought, I want some games that'll be fun with my wife. And Snipper Clips has really been fun for us. Yeah. She loves it. We played it for like 3 hours last night, her and I. I thought about 1-2 Switch, and I thought she'd like it. And so my buddy's like, well, let's go get it. So he got his, and he's like, well, if you don't know if you want it, like you can just demo mine. So my wife took our daughter, and they went over to my brother's house and my sister-in-law, and she hung it all there. So it was just my buddy and I. Eventually, everyone did leave after we played Snipper Clips for like the whole day, and then we played 1-2 Switch for like 4 or 5 hours. We really maybe not quite 5 hours, maybe a little less than that, but we did. We pulled it out and set it up, and we went through every mini game, like one at a time. We watched every tutorial of like people showing how to do it. And it was just so many of them were bizarre. So many of them were like, this is silly, especially some of the dance ones. Like my buddy, like that's not him, and that's not me either. I'm not, or there's this one where you walk like a fashion model.
Runway, yep.
Oh, my gosh. I was like, this is stupid. I was so embarrassed to even attempt to do it, but whatever. So, yeah, there's a lot of funny things. My overall impressions with it is, Kevin, I actually 100% agree with you. You hit the nose in the head. Like my buddy and I, we had some really good laughs, like this was funny. This was fun to do. But at the same time, I knew in the back of my head, like this is not, because like my right arm was like wanting to fall off after doing some of those things over and over and over again. I was tired from some of the mini games, and I work out regularly, and no, it really wore my arm out on my shoulder, and I know that this is not something I'm going to pull out on my own. Like this is something that you would pull out for a party, a New Year's Eve party, a Super Bowl party for people who don't want to watch the game, things like that. So I don't feel like it's justified for me to spend $50 on that when I would rather buy some other games I know that are coming out in the near future. So I decided not to get the game. If it goes down to $20, maybe I'd get it. But it's there's some fun stuff in there for sure. And I think I'm not saying you would have a bad experience with it. I'm just saying if you want your money's worth, like Zelda's the exact opposite. Like I feel like I got this game for this much, and there is so much stuff to it, and more stuff to even come. So a funny memory with the game though, 1-2 Switch. After playing, we decided let's just play our favorite mini games. We really liked the sword fighting one. So if you don't know, it's not like the Wii sorting one. Like this is legit sword fighting. And dude, this is like our 5th or 7th time playing this one. And I kid you not, we did not have the straps on, and this never happened to me with the Wii.
No.
And I'm playing with his, thankfully, but we are getting into it, and dude, the Joy-Con went flying out of my hand and smacked into the wall over by the lamp. It didn't break anything. The Joy-Con was fine. There was no issues with the wall, or at least I didn't check the wall, but I don't think there was anything wrong. I was more concerned about his Joy-Con. I'm like, dude, I do not want to break your stuff. You just got this. You didn't expect it. So I was like, okay, I'm done playing this game now. That pretty much sealed the night up. So, but no, fun time. Just I don't really think it's worth $50.
Yeah, I agree.
So our next game, I believe we all got Snipper Clips. Is that correct?
I just
got it.
downloaded the demo.
You just downloaded the demo. Ryan, what are you doing, man? You need to play some other games besides Zelda, buddy.
Hey, I had money set aside for it, and we ended up having to use it for something else. I was like, oh man, well, I guess we'll get it some other time.
Well, it's really fun. Very clever, very cute. The impressions, the noises, the little paper dudes make, really fun. I just love that. Like, my wife isn't a gamer per se, but she's somebody that from time to time she'll jump in with me. Like, she likes the Mario Party games. She likes Mario Kart. Actually, she's pretty decent at Mario Kart. But she's not going to be playing Zelda. She's not going to be playing Mario Odyssey. She's not going to play those types of games. These are the types of games she'll play, and she likes it. She likes the whole thing about it. So if you really want a game that you can play with just a friend that maybe they struggle at games, or you're looking at your girlfriend or your boyfriend or husband or wife, whatever, this is a good game I recommend. I guess, Kevin, tell me your experiences with it. What did you like about the game?
Yeah, I mean, same thing. My wife and I played it. I bought it specifically for her because I was like, hey, this is the game you're going to want to play on the Switch. So
same here.
And it was a home run. I mean, my wife, she games, but not a ton. So she likes like Pikmin. You mentioned the Mario Party. She's played those types of things. She likes ones that you got to think a little bit.
Yeah.
Chibi Robo back in the day, if you remember that on GameCube.
Yep.
Stuff like that. That's in her wheelhouse. I figured Snipper Clips was just weird enough that would be good and we could play together, so she'll enjoy it. And I mean, home run. It's very cool. I mean, it's very simplistic animation, which is perfectly fine, but the mechanics of it really get you thinking. Like, some of these puzzles, like, it starts off and you're like, okay, this is easy. But I mean, you get like 4 or 5, even just 4 or 5 levels in, and like right away you're like, all right, how is this going to work? And I mean, you really have to think about it. And the teamwork involved in it's a lot of fun. But yeah, it's definitely fun and funny. My wife and I played it launch day, probably about 2 hours before going to bed eventually. But then when my sister-in-law came over the next day, the two of them played it for about 3 hours straight. They just didn't stop. So the two of them, and I'm just sitting there watching. I'm like, this is my Switch, but it is what it is. So, you got to deal with it. But no, it's weird because you look at 1-2 Switch at $50 and you look at Snipper Clips at $20. And it should be the other way around.
Absolutely.
Because Snipper Clips, far better game over 1-2 Switch. And it's definitely worth the money. $20 realistically, if you're not going to play Switch alone and you have to pick one title to play with somebody else right now, Snipper Clips is that title.
Yes.
Hands down.
Absolutely. It is. It's definitely a couch co-op play, whereas 1-2 Switch is get off your feet and look at each other, not even the screen, like we said earlier. So Snipper Clips is really cute and fun. And Ryan, I really think you and Nisa need to step up your game there and start playing it real soon, because it's really fun. Especially like even the 4-player mode. I was kind of curious, like, how does that work? They're all new mini games. I mean, it's completely set up for 2 people, and then the 4-player mode is a completely different experience. And I was just really impressed that how much they put into this game. Really impressed. Very good. I would give it, like, if I had to rate it, man, give it a maybe an 8 or 9 out of 10 there. I mean, it's a phenomenal game. So go get it, guys, if you don't have it. Now, Ryan, we've played Bomberman.
Yes.
I think Nintendo listened to one of our early episodes where we talked about games we need back on Nintendo. We talked about Dragon Ball Z, we talked about Ninja Turtles, and we talked about Bomberman. We don't have Ninja Turtles yet, or your card game one. But we have Dragon Ball Z later in the year. I know that's been confirmed. And we also have the game we're about to talk about, Bomberman. So what do you think about the game? The animation is pretty cool, I think.
This is such a throwback for me. Like, this is classic Bomberman. Like, I played the multiplayer mode with my brother-in-law, and it was just spot on, like everything I remembered it to be. And I played it on the tabletop mode, and it was the first time really playing with the Joy-Cons on their side, and I actually liked it. I thought that my thumbs being so close together was going to be a problem, but then like I got right into it, didn't even have any problems. I think my only issue was I was sitting too far away from the screen, so I couldn't really see my Bomberman too well. But it was so much fun. Like it was just a blast. Like going to that throwback, and I wanted more of it. Like I guess you could spend in-game coins that you can unlock to unlock other levels. So you can play other multiplayer levels and what have you, like unlock things. And I was like, I gotta get into this. I gotta start earning those coins. I guess maybe one player mode is where you get that stuff, but I haven't delved into the one player because Zelda's been taking my time. But I did get some multiplayer in, and it was just straight nostalgia for me.
I played it as well. That was one of the other games after Snipper Clips. We did play Bomberman. We played it with 4 players. Gosh, I can tell you, I'm really bad at Bomberman. I suck, but I never. To be honest, I never owned a Bomberman game. I had only played it casually from time to time at a friend's house. So it's not like I had this deep passion for Bomberman, but I wanted it because it is a game from my past childhood that I remember playing. And gosh, Ryan, you're absolutely right. When I turned the game on, I heard the music and I was like, dude, is this like the late 90s? Because that's when I got into Bomberman, like Bomberman 64. Like I just felt like the good old days again, I loved it. It brought back all these awesome nostalgic memories from my childhood of gaming with my friends. And I like the game. I like the artwork. I like the direction. I heard some people complaining about, I think it got like a 60% rating or someone gave it a mediocre rating. But I'm like, if you're looking for this life-changing experience like Zelda, you're not going to get it with Bomberman. I think it's a great game. I think it deserves a 7-8 rating because out of 10 because it's Bomberman. That's what it is. Simple as that. It's Bomberman. And if you like the old Bomberman games, it's going to be a good game. If you don't like Bomberman, you're not going to enjoy it. So really, I don't think it's fair to say if this was the formula like the old games and it just completely sucked, yeah, give it a bad rating. But it's not. It's like Bomberman, what you've always played. Just a fun experience, a fun multiplayer game. If you're looking for a multiplayer co-op, because you can play one player mode with a friend, and Traven and I did that as well, and we beat the whole first world. So I like Bomberman. I think it's cool. I'm really glad I picked it up. But that's the only games I've played besides Zelda. Have you guys played any more games than just those 3?
I picked up Shovel Knight Treasure Trove.
Shovel Knight Treasure Trove. How is that?
I like it. So I missed the Shovel Knight train long ago when it first.
I just want to get
took off. Yeah, and so probably a couple months ago, I was like, I should probably pick this up for the 3DS and get to playing this, because if you listen to my show, I kind of had an epiphany about 6 months ago where I finally started exploring the indie game market and finding those hidden gems that can be really cool. And so I was like, well, I got to give this one a shot because everybody raves about Shovel Knight. So all I can say is, it's $25. You get the core game plus all 3 DLC, all 2 DLC packs as well. So you're really getting 3 games for the price of 1. It is, if you're a fan of retro gaming, this game literally could have been out on the Nintendo Entertainment System on the NES. It plays like an 8-bit game, but in the best way possible. The music is phenomenal with the tune chip stuff. I mean, it's very comparable to like a Mega Man game, if you will, the way you kind of platform and jump and super oversized bosses. It is very tough. It's just you and a shovel, really. But I've played probably the first 3 or 4 stages on it, so I didn't spend too much time with it. But for the price, and if you're a fan of nostalgia, then this is definitely right in your wheelhouse, because it is, even though it's a new game, it is very much in the vein of the late 80s, early 90s gaming for sure. So scale of 1 to 10, easily an 8 or a 9 on this one too. It's
awesome.
It is perfect 8-bit nostalgia, hands down.
Now, I played a little bit of the Wii U version with my wife, and we did a little co-op, and we had access to a D-pad. How different do you think this is for like playing an 8-bit game and with a stick instead of a D-pad? Like how well does it feel? And can you use those buttons underneath the stick?
You can. It feels a little weird though, because the offset controllers, now you're kind of flipping it to do it the other way around. So it is a little awkward to play that way. You can. I have not. I've pretty much stuck to just the controller itself, the normal stick, and using that. And for me, it's not a problem, but I can totally understand that if people are playing it like an NES game, you'd think like, hey, this is how I have to control it, that they might have some difficulty doing it. One of the other staffers with Play Some Video Games had expressed that same thing. He's like, man, it is much easier if I was able to use a D-pad. And I told him, I was like, well, did you try the buttons? Does that work? And he's like, oh, let me try. And he goes, oh, it does, but it's a little awkward holding the controller that way. So, but one thing I didn't try, though, which you probably could do, you could probably just take the Joy-Con right out and play. It might be easier if they're not attached to the grip, maybe possibly. It might feel a little bit better that way. But I haven't tried it, but I am not having a problem using the control stick, for me at least. But I can totally understand how some might.
Shovel Knight for me, I played it just casually again with my buddy on his Wii U. He has it, and I just kind of played it because you can do co-op mode. So I'm not too familiar with the game, but I want to get it for the Switch. I'm a big physical guy, so I'm kind of holding out, hoping that they're going to say, because it's physical on everything else, so I'm hoping they'll have a physical version for the Switch. I mean, if it's clear that it won't come physically, I'll probably just download it. But I'm holding out for that. But I'm like you, Kevin. Mine started with the Switch. I decided I'm going to dive into this indie scene. I used to think indie games were just kind of like half-hearted done games, but everyone raves about them, and I've played a couple of them that are really, really impressive. And I want to dive into that scene a bit more, especially with the Switch. And I think Shovel Knight's a good game to start that off with, besides Snipperclips and Yooka-Laylee, of course. So, but that's how I feel about it. I'm glad it's good, though. It's funny you talk about the D-pad. I think it's a good segue into the controllers real quick. I do have a Pro controller. I picked one up on launch day. Was not planned. So they had an extra one there, so I grabbed it. And playing Zelda, I've used it both ways. I used the Pro and I used the Joy-Con. And to be honest, I like the Joy-Cons better. The Pro controller is fine. There's no issues with it. I don't feel awkward. I honestly feel about the same. Okay. I wouldn't say one's really far better than the other. But for me, I like using the Joy-Cons because I feel like, well, this is what the system's all about. It's these Joy-Cons. So I like using the main controller the most. But I wanted a Pro controller mostly because for 2D platformer games, I'm a big Donkey Kong Country fan, and if they ever bring Donkey Kong Country to the Switch, Donkey Kong Country 2 especially, like I would love to play those games, or maybe re-release Tropical Freeze, or heck, I hope and pray that they actually start making more of these games. It'll be I'll have that covered with a solid D-pad there to play those games with, but. Guys, if you have anything else to talk about these games, go ahead and say it now. So if not, let's jump into the big game, and that's going to be Breath of the Wild. So anyone listening, we probably will say spoiler stuff here. We're not trying not to hide anything because this episode's all about Switch and Zelda and all the games. But I just want to dive right in and starting off by saying, guys, I took a 4-day weekend and I didn't get to game quite as much with it as I wanted to over the weekend. But I said today I'm doing nothing. I'm literally going to be like a kid in school who's on winter break and he got a new game for Christmas. I got up first thing this morning, made myself some breakfast, and I literally gamed all day long. I did not stop. Maybe a couple times here and there to get some food and to use the restroom and to answer the phone once or twice. But other than that, I gamed all day, and I took care of my daughter, of course. But she kind of sat back and watched me with a bottle in her mouth all day. But guys, I love it. It's really awesome. It's a fun game. It's a beautiful game. And it's so frustrating at the same time because first off, before this game, I thought I was like a legend at Zelda. No pun intended. You know, like I school all the bad guys. I just beat Majora's Mask 3DS. And like I'm very positive I did not die one time. Not once throughout the entire game. I did not die once. And I have died so many times. Oh, I hate it. I feel like crap. It's like, gosh, I suck. But the game is so fun. I've never spent so much time on a game in one day and literally felt like I did so much but so little. Like I feel like I barely scratched the game at all today and I played it for nonstop. Guys, I want to hear your thoughts though. I talk all the time. So Ryan, we've been going with Kevin. Let's start with you, Ryan. Tell me this. Apparently, this is all you've been playing, your whole family. So, what's your experience? What are you liking about the game?
Every turn, every place I explore, I'm just wowed. There's something, whether it's the scenery or how enemies react or how the elements change things around, the puzzles and each of the trials, like everything just amazes me. Like I'm constantly being caught off guard and surprised. I find myself chuckling all the time. Like, oh, they did that. That's really cool. Like the other day I was just playing putt-putt, like trying to knock a ball with the motion controls into like a hole to get past this trial. It was so simple, but it was today. Like, it's so fun to do that. And I just stumbled upon a trial just before we got into this podcast that was just like Survivor. Like you end up on this island and the trial is they take away all of your equipment and you have to start from scratch and you have to like run around this island, take out enemies, like
what?
Like and gather and find like treasure and swords and things. And you try to get these balls into these holes. But you have to like be creative and use the land around you, and
wow,
you even have to take down like one of the one-eyed giant creature things. Like I haven't been able to do that yet.
Oh no, the Guardians.
No, not those. No, the big troll-like characters.
I found a skeleton one of those. I haven't found a real live troll though.
So like I was trying to figure all that out, and apparently you can't save on this island. So if you die, you got to start all over again. It's just like hardcore like Survivor mode, and it's so cool. Like, you're stripped of everything. Like you're literally in your boxers running around. you get your basic functions of the Sheikah Slate, and I believe you can glide, but that's it. Everything else you have to like grab some rudimentary sticks to try to sneak up on one of the enemies to take him out, and then you can get his weapon. I got a bow, and then I had to go and I had to find some arrows because he didn't drop any arrows. So like. And I just had to, and then my weapon broke, so I had to figure out how to get another weapon, and then I realized I could use magnesis, and I pulled up a chest and got a sword, and then like it just kept building and building and building, and it's like, this feels like I'm starting the game over from scratch, but on a small island, and yet it still feels like the full like game of it. It's like a mini game within it. It is so cool.
That is awesome. It truly is blowing me away. Kevin, what about you? What's your experiences?
So you guys will get first dibs on here because I skipped my own podcast this week to show up on yours. So this is the first time I'm talking about Zelda. So I will say prior to this launch, I deliberately knew I was getting this game. It was a no-brainer for me. I've been a lifelong Zelda fan. I've beaten every single Zelda game with the exception of Skyward Sword because I didn't have the Wii anymore at that point, so I have not played it through.
You got to go play it. Last week's episode.
Yeah, I know. I listened to it. Man. Just when you think Nintendo couldn't change the game, they changed the game.
Yeah.
I knew nothing going in, so I didn't really know. Like, I knew the elements thing was going to be a factor, but I didn't know how much of a factor it's going to be. It's just the stuff that happens is insane. Like, you would not expect it. So I don't know if you guys, and this isn't a spoiler, I won't give away any plot details whatsoever, but have you guys run around in a lightning storm yet?
I did today.
Did you get electrocuted?
I don't think I did. I think I was close.
I was struck by lightning. So I died. Like, it's an instant death, like so many other things that happen in this game as it is. And I'm like, man, what is going on? So continue, ran back in the same area. This thunderstorm happened again. I was like, what is going on? Then I realized you get a slight warning before the lightning strikes. If you're carrying a metal weapon, it's a lightning rod. You will get struck by lightning. So I had to switch to the bow and arrow or a stick. So I had no metal on me. I couldn't have a metal shield, couldn't have anything. And that was the way around it. What game has ever thought to do something like that? And it was just pure luck that I happened to guess on the second time. I could have easily have done that like 5 or 10 times, being like, what am I supposed to do here? Why is this happening? Things like that. The giant troll you mentioned, Ryan, I had found one out in the wild, not in a trial. And I was like, man, what is this thing going to do? And I woke it up and I tried to run away and it killed me right away. Like, it was insane. I mean, this thing was bigger than most of the trees in the game. So it just seems like everybody's experience has been radically different with what they're finding and what they're seeing. So I don't understand the point. I'm not one that uses anyway, but a player's guide for this game. I don't know what I'm doing. Like you said, I've never played a game so long. I feel like I've accomplished nothing because I have no idea what I'm supposed to actually be doing for the most part. The story gives you some vague things like, hey, you gotta do that. But like the stuff you may have to do in between for you to actually get there is not really laid out for you, which is a wonderful thing because I will spend over 100 hours on this game easily, and that's fine with me. I'm a big fan of like the Fallout series and games like that where I will spend hundreds of hours on a game and it doesn't bother me. But man, I mean, this game is so different than anything else, number one, and then different than any other Zelda game. I mean, I think everybody kind of thought like this is going to be like Twilight Princess or Skyward Sword. It's going to be a continuation. It's going to be better, but it's going to follow that same formula. And Nintendo said, nope. They threw away basically everything and started over with this, and it is amazing for it. We see a lot of comparisons to Horizon Zero Dawn, which launched around the same time. So you see that like, oh, character bow and arrow. Even the color schemes are pretty much similar there. But with the staff I work with, some of them playing Horizon, there's like half of us playing Zelda, and we're discussing the game, and they couldn't be any more different.
Wow.
This is a magical thing. I will say it. This is the best Zelda game I've ever played. I have no problem saying that. I'm not that far into it. I'm maybe 5 to 7 hours in, and it's amazing. You never know what's going to happen, and it's just so massive. I mean, there's no way. I saw the stories like the day it launched saying like this is the biggest map in gaming history that they've ever done as far as like square miles and stuff.
Yeah.
And I didn't believe it because I've played Fallout, and those games are massive if you played them. This is so much bigger. I mean, the mountains and climbing up and just looking at the horizon, you're like, you can't see the end of this map at any point. So it's just nuts. But like you said, Jacob, it is hard. Like I die a lot, and you just don't see it coming. Like an enemy pop up and one arrow from this one enemy will kill you, but another enemy will shoot an arrow. It'll take one heart. You just don't know what's going to happen. And that's, I think that's part of it. I think once I get like some actual armor versus clothes, it'll probably help a little bit. But I don't want to say negative, but the one detractor for me, there's no way for you to really gauge how tough an enemy is until he's already killed you. Like there's no way to do that. That's the only thing. But other than that, I have nothing bad to say about this game. It is amazing. I couldn't be more happy with the way it turned out.
Guys, I'll start this one. What are I guess you kind of just talked about, things that you're finding frustrating with the game. For me, I think what I find frustrating with the game is it's actually something that not of the game's fault, but it's my own. Like I'm so used to the old Zelda format. Like I will find myself making the stupidest mistakes of like, I will run and I think I'm going to jump automatically and I just fall, like, oh, I screwed that up because you have to jump this time. I actually, one thing I don't like how you can't set up I wish I could change the buttons to where I wanted to run and jump like I do in Mario Brothers, where you put it on the X and I could hold it down and run and jump with the B, but you can't do that. It's literally the A and or the Y and B button or something like that.
Yeah, it's opposite. It's where it shouldn't be for jump. I agree.
Right, and I wish they would that could be fixed. And who knows, maybe a later patch they could change that. But so little things like that. What I don't like about the game as well. Well, I'm sorry. It's not that I don't like. It's something I guess I'm uncomfortable with as a gamer. It's not that it's actually a flaw with the game. It's that like I am going everywhere, and it's like I see how I've been going about in the game is I see a tower. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to that tower so I can fill out another part of my map. And then along the way, I'm seeing all these shrines, and I'll stop at this shrine, I'll stop at that shrine, and of course, I get killed 1,000 times along the way. But I finally make it to that tower. And then I get up to that tower, and it's like I see just this beautiful scenery, and then I see like, oh, well, that tower's not too far away. Well, and it looks so much closer when you look at it, and then I go to it and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this took me like 2.5 hours to get here. Like, this is ridiculous. And I'll get there and I'll find another shrine. And like, I always feel like I'm breaking the game. Like, I feel like I'm not supposed to be in this area. Like, these enemies are way too tough. And I'm over here trying to sneak around them. Like, in old Zelda games, you wouldn't be here if you weren't tough enough to fight them. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I went to a shrine, and I don't know the area off the top of my head, but I went to a shrine and I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm like playing something that no one's played yet before. And I'm sure many people have, but I'm thinking like, man, I bet no one wandered out way this far off the map. And cause I'm like near the ocean borderline some. And the shrine I think was technically like in an unmarked area. It wasn't even on my open map part. So I get in the shrine and it's like a moderate test of strength is what it was called. Oh, yes. So I get in there and this robot is like kicking the crap out of me. I mean, it's killing me every time. I'm literally using every weapon I have on it. And it does nothing. Like, I'm doing no damage to it. So I'm like, okay, I'll put a marker on my map to know I can come back here, and I'll come back later. Did some other stuff. I went along back with the story. I actually I go to the story and then I kind of wander off and then I'll come back to the story. Along the way, I found some upgrades. So then I went back to this place and I actually died a lot again, but I was actually doing a lot of damage to the robot. So I finally got to the point where like I just ran in there. It was like he was this far off from the meter and he was charging up to like shoot me with his beam, and like if he hit me, I was done. So I just ran in and I literally was just hacking and slicing and hoping for glory. And like it literally was a nail biter, and I knocked him out and I beat him. I could not believe, like, it was just a feeling of satisfaction, like, oh my gosh, I did it. And what felt good was that like I felt like I did something that I wasn't supposed to do yet. That's what I loved about it. It wasn't that I beat an enemy that was close to my level. I felt like I beat an enemy that you're not really technically supposed to beat this guy right now. So that's just kind of like what I am liking about the game, what I'm not liking about the game. I did a lot of exploring around the fields today because I started to look for, they're supposed to find memories in the game. And I found a memory and I looked on my memory map, and like this memory is like the last memory on the map almost. And I'm like, oh, okay. I haven't found anything else. I guess because I was heading to another tower. That's what I was doing. And I get to this tower and I hadn't seen any guardians today. I found like 7 of them. And can I say, when I see a freaking guardian, I like pee my pants. I like, oh my gosh, like just hide over here. Let's just go off into the distance. But like I was trying to get to this tower, and this was the first time a guardian actually spotted me, because I really wanted to mark up this map. And I thought there was just one. And because it was like walking back and forth in this little ruined town. And then there was another one to the side. And like I felt like it was Jurassic Park 2. Like this is like how they felt. There's a T-Rex here. You're looking at that, trying not to go. And then you walk over here. And then there's the other T-Rex staring at you. And the guardian like started to chase me. And I like jumped off my horse. I had Epona. I scanned it in. And I was like, I said, sorry, Epona. And I just teleported out of there because I did not want to get eaten by that thing. So, but again, that was like, I felt like I was breaking the game. Like, you're not supposed to be here because this is like extremely hard, because I cannot even damage these guys at this point. So, Ryan, what do you think? How are you attacking this game?
Well, it's kind of interesting. My wife was getting frustrated with me because I keep getting off of the story. Like, I just go explore on my own. But then, like, she'd get to this part and she'd explain it to me like, oh yeah, I've been there. And so I helped her get past this shrine. And then like I get to this other, and I get further in there, and she gets to these parts and I'm like, oh yeah, this is how you do this one. Yeah, I've done this one. Yeah. Here's how you do this one. Cause it mirrors another one that you see. You have to figure out the code there. And like, I figured all that stuff out and work with it. And then I started doing the story stuff, and she has already been past that part. So she was able to help me through the story stuff. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of cool. Like, I'd get somewhere, and my wife had been there like maybe just a few hours ahead of me, and I beat that, and I go to the next place. I just stumbled upon this place, and my wife had just beat that part, and like I'm not actually following the story, but yet I'm like trailing behind her in the story without even having done any of that. And I feel like it's so different, but we're getting to the same conclusions. We're finding the same places. It's really nifty.
Yeah, ultimately, it is kind of like that. Kevin, how are you attacking this game? Like, what's your route of choice?
So I got up to the point where I got the memories and I'm supposed to try and find these memories.
Uh-huh.
Am I missing something? There's no way to find these memories unless you actually find this place in the landscape, right? Like,
yes,
it's a long process.
Yeah, that's I'm like. So I'm kind of at the point in the story where I guess my story is kind of stopped until I figure this out. But it's like, man. So I don't know. So right now I've been doing a lot of exploring, trying to get to the shrines and get more, upgrades to my stamina, to my health, to kind of do there. And I'm just kind of exploring things out. I made it to the Zora's domain today.
Yes.
And then I ran into my first experience with the Blood Moon. Have you seen that?
Yeah, It freaked me out. I thought I ran into Ganon on accident.
Right. I was like, what is going on? And then they kind of give you that cutscene to explain what that is. And then I got bum rushed by like 30 guys at once. And I was like, I can't do anything. So right now I'm kind of just exploring and doing side quests when I can, just tacking more shrines and unlocking the map piece by piece right now.
Yeah.
One thing I did forget to mention on the negative stuff, and it's not really negative because it's a game design choice, so I have nothing against that, but I don't like it. The weapon's breaking.
Yeah.
That is kind of annoying, like, because some of the stuff doesn't even last more than like 5 hits. Like, that's kind of ridiculous. I'm okay with stuff wearing down, but if you're in the middle of one fight and you can't even get through a fight beating one guy with one weapon, that's a little insane. But
yeah,
from what I've heard, it gets better down the line, so that'll be good. But like to start off, it's a really frustrating game because you can die right away. Your weapons don't hold up if you even find weapons, and it's just kind of like, But yeah, for right now, I'm just exploring, trying to see what areas I can go. Much like you had said, there's a lot of areas you get to and you're like, I'm not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
But I'm going to try anyway because I don't know what else to do. So I'm just kind of pecking away at it. So it's really funny. I kind of wonder how these people that have reviewed the game have really been able to review it. Because I feel like even if you played it and you dove in for like a week straight and played, 8 hours a day for a week, I still feel like you didn't get anywhere.
No.
And how do you rate that experience when, like Ryan had said, literally everybody's having a different experience. We're getting to the same point, but how we're getting there has been completely different. So
yeah,
it's a little unusual for to say the least. But I love it. I'm just exploring it and kind of just soaking it all in for right now.
I think Nintendo did a very good job at setting the game up to where to unlock the story, you have to explore. So, like I saw a linear path from the intro with the plateau with the king, and then he sends you to Impa, and then Impa sends you to this mountain area, and then you go back to Impa, and then she's like, "You got to find these memories." Well, once you hit that point, then I think that's where it's really saying, "Okay, have fun,
get out there."
Like you can explore before that, but this time you're kind of like, you just got to go everywhere because that's what essentially these memories are scattered and you don't know where to go. So you just got to make your way around. And like I said, when I ran into the memory I ran into is actually the biggest scene we saw with the latest trailer that they showed at the Switch event where Zelda's crying and it's raining. That was the memory I unlocked. And I found that on my journey to where I ran into those two guardians where I was trying to get to that tower. So I don't think I was supposed to technically go down that route. At least you're not meant to till later. But
how do you see the memories? Like what happens? Like how do you know you're in the right spot? Is there something like that triggers? Is it like a glow or something?
There is a glow. It's like a circular glow, and you have to be like in the right place. There is a painter, a guy who has like a paintbrush like ponytail. He's always painting. Sometimes you see him in some of the horse stables.
Yeah.
He can actually point you to where memory is in that area.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So he helps guide you with that if you're lucky enough to find them in different places. Like I think the first one was in, what's the name? The village that the old young girl is, the professor or whatever she is.
Yeah, the mountain town. It's after Kakariko Village. Yeah. I know that. I don't know the name of it, but the mountain town that you're referring to.
There's a paintbrush guy there. He'll tell you where to find your first one, which I never did find that one, but I found another one. So
cool. I'll have to look for that.
That mountain town. I went to that mountain town. That's where I found that shrine, that moderate challenge shrine. It was up on a hill to the right. Yeah. I went to that before I ever went to Kakariko Village. Like that's why I felt like I was breaking the game. So I went that way. Like because I was always intrigued most about like the Twin Peaks that they referenced from the original Zelda. Like I always wanted like what's beyond that. So that's kind of why I went that route. So then I finally got back to the story and figured all that out. But no, guys, I to wrap it up, I really think this game is awesome, and I really enjoy it. I actually was talking to a buddy of mine. I thought, I think it'd be actually kind of cool if Nintendo, with their next game, like what if they went back and they like remade Ocarina of Time, but in this format, they would make Ocarina of Time kind of like what we all imagine it and that we think we remember it to be like, because at that time this style of game, that was it. You know what I'm saying? Like we never had a game like that. So to take Ocarina of Time and remake it into this style of game, I think would be like amazing. Like it'd be so awesome. So, timeline, I don't know where timeline this is on. Like,
yeah, I don't know either. It's kind of, I mean, the Zelda timeline's so convoluted anyway. It's kind of tough. They might just say this is another branch of the timeline, so we don't really know. But yeah, it's hard to track.
They have everything from everything. They have the Rito tribe, which is supposed to be a descendant from the Zoras, but there are Zoras in the game, so like that doesn't make sense. There are Koroks, which are only in the Wind Waker timeline, but everything looks like it's from the Twilight Princess timeline.
Yeah. There's so many Sheikah, and that didn't happen that many of them were around, so it's very weird.
It's very weird. Well, even in the game, like this is a big spoiler. Like they talk about like the 10,000 years. Like they had built up their technology and they fought Ganon 10,000 years ago and they beat him. And then he came back. And then when he came back, he like took over all their machines that they used to beat in the last time. So that's like there was no event that we have of as a game of the robot attack and like them stopping him the first time with building up the robots. Yeah. Like that could almost be an entirely game itself where you like discover these robots to stop Ganon. You know what I'm saying? So like I really don't know what timeline this is on, and I'm anxious to find out, like that. Unless like the things like the amiibos, I don't know if they just unlock things that like aren't necessarily with the story. Because like you can get Wolf Link amiibo, which is technically
how does that tie in?
Another Link. Yeah. But I scanned in one of my Toon Link amiibos, and I got the Toon Link cap, and it says like this cap belonged to the Hero of the Winds, and it's like, where does this fall? Like that's a completely different timeline.
Yeah, that's weird.
So unless.
I do wish too that they I don't know why they mess with Ganon's name. I hate the title Calamity Ganon. Like that's I don't understand that. So I'm hoping they still do like a Ganondorf or just call him Ganon reveal, because that's a little weird. It seems just I don't know if it's something that's kind of lost in translation from the east to the west, but it just doesn't seem to fit the lore properly.
It seems like something special happened to Ganon to transform him into this alternate, like almost like a mega, like a like a super shredder, Ninja Turtles 2, took the ooze.
To the ooze. Oh.
So that's kind of what it sounds like. But if that's the case, I would like an explanation of that within the story of why he became Calamity,
Right. Plus, I mean, even just the word Calamity doesn't sound right. Like if you want to call him Omega Ganon or, whatever, it's just
what does Calamity even mean?
Right. I think of like Calamity Jane all the time, like the cowboy, the Western type thing. Like it just doesn't fit to me. It's very off-putting. We talked about a little bit on with my team. We talked about too, like none of us seem to really understand that choice. We're hoping something happens on the line where they change that. But like what went wrong with the Ganondorf Ganon, philosophy? But
from my understanding of Calamity, just from growing up, Calamity was something that they would use when something devastating would happen, like tornado, flood, tsunami, like things like that. And so this is more of a kind of an elemental type Ganon. And you'll find as you play through in some of the dungeons, you'll see some of these elemental things pop up. And so that being the case, I think they're trying to go for like almost like a world changing, like weather, not just the weather, but like kind of destructive event, unless person, but it's still a force. I don't know. It's interesting. But yeah, I can see how like the Calamity Jane thing can kind of detract from that.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought.
That is.
Like call him like Apocalypse Ganon or Travesty Ganon or something like
Yes.
that over Calamity. I don't know, just a little weird. That's all.
The story. Well, I do one thing real quick. I thought it was cool from the story. Like as they've been talking about it, they talk about like they reference all the games. They talk about how the time. They say like the hero that Ganon always appears throughout times, generation after generation, and how the two heroes, and they're always referring to Zelda and Link, have always come back every single time Ganon comes back. Like they're not just referencing like one legend that happened latest in the timeline, whereas all the old games they kind of refer to, like in Twilight, they talk about what happened in Ocarina, Wind Waker, what happened in Ocarina. It's not like they talk about every game in the series. This actually is kind of referring to everything that has happened historically through all out time within the timeline of these three reoccurring, which in Skyward Sword we talked about. That's how it all began, where Demise puts the curse and everything begins. So the guys, I want to let you guys get back to playing your Switches and just enjoying the rest of your evenings. Thank you so much for just taking some time out and hanging out with us, Kevin. If you want to go ahead and tell everybody where can they find you and what do you do regularly?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm technically from the PlaySomeVideoGames.com crew, also known as the PSVG podcast, where basically we kind of talk about everything. So it's not just Nintendo specific. It's kind of all of gaming, including PC, mobile, kind of everything. Lately, we've done a ton of like indie reviews. We do have a lot of partnership with a lot of developers who give us review copies of games. So you'll see a lot of that material end up on the website. But yeah, I mean, we're kind of just a blog. We're a big group of guys. There's 12 or 13 of us now at this point.
Nice.
So we kind of spread the wealth and have a lot of expertise. If you are interested in console specific stuff, though, we do special episodes where we have the Xbox Empire, PlayStation Island, and then ironically enough, as you mentioned, Nintendo is getting the short stick. We have the Nintendo Shack. So our special episodes is three of us that do the Nintendo stuff. So yeah, just check it out, PlaySomeVideoGames.com. You can find the PSVG podcast, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, everywhere. We're out there. So, but thank you for having me on. It was a blast. Love it.
No problem. And I know this wasn't a traditional episode, but Kevin, we have to have you back on for a game of your past and that you just have a lot of memories with, and we'll get that booked and planned and get you back soon. And we need to get Donnie on too.
Absolutely.
The Koopalings master there. He, he's got to get on the Nintendo Nostalgia Show. So
he told me he would. So I'll hold him to it. I pull the reins there on him sometimes. So he's the big boss, but I tug the string every now and then. So we're good.
Very cool. Well, Ryan, you want to do our due diligence and we'll close this out?
Sure thing, man. You can find us on SoundCloud and iTunes. You probably listen to us there. You can find us on Facebook. Join in the group there. Also, we have a group chat that you can join in. It's pinned at the top of our Nintendo Nostalgia page. Just join in the chat. We're talking about games, organizing events for playing Bomberman, or getting on playing basically Splatoon when it comes out for the test fire. That's going to be a huge thing for us. Check out our Twitter, and we're posting news articles on there all the time. It's at Nintendo_NOS. And then if you want to shoot us an email, it's NintendoNostalgiaIN@gmail.com.
Awesome. Well, guys, again, thank you so much. And guys, we hope if you have a Switch, we hope you're enjoying it. If you don't have a Switch, we hope that your hype is just continuing to build, so you go get one as soon as you can. Because, guys, it really is awesome. And Nintendo is hitting a home run out of the park with this one. With all the little mini flaws they may have, I don't think it's enough to stray you away from it. So go join as soon as you can. But that's it, guys. We'll catch you next time, okay? I'll see you later.
Later.
Bye.
Bye.